Shalom. This is Hadassah Bat Saiwan returning with the brand new study called The Second Exodus of the Northern Kingdom, Part 1. And what we're going to do, we're still in the book of Revelation, but after I finished chapter 12, revised, of the book of Revelation, I just felt that there's so much more that information that's been given to me, a deeper understanding. And I've said this before in a previous study, that the way how the Hamashayat works, the way how Alahayam, Ruach HaKadosh, how they work, is they give you information in the form of pieces. All right? Now they give you as much as you can handle. So if you're not spiritually mature enough to handle the depth of their revelation, they're not going to give it to you. What they do is they give you enough that you are able to handle. As they give you a little bit, then they start to give you more, and they give you more and more and more, because now you are growing by faith with the information that they have given to you. You're growing in understanding and in knowledge, okay, and wisdom and discernment. So that's why he does not give us everything all at once. He gives us bits and pieces. And these bits and pieces, once we are able to handle them, then he gives a little bit more. He takes you deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is what he has done with me regarding the second Exodus of the Northern Kingdom. I did that first study months and months ago. It was one of the biggest studies that I've done. And since then, he's given me more information and more information. And since I've started the book of Revelation, revised, I have gotten even more information. So now it's time for me to do, not really an update, but it's an addition to what I have already done, and to help you to understand how all of this is going to roll out, right? And to also answer those very important questions that people are asking about the 12 tribes going into the wilderness, when in fact there are not 12 tribes going into the wilderness. I'm going to come back again with 3 very important scriptures that when you look at it in view, like if you're following along with my studies here, all right, now that you can look back at these 3 prophecies, you will see clearly what I'm telling you. You will. So let's get started, because this part 1, it was supposed to be just one study, but it grew and it grew and it grew. So now it has 3 parts. And then we'll jump right back into the book of Revelation revised into chapter 13. So let's get started. And there are a lot of scriptures that we're going to cover. All right? A lot of scriptures. So now we're going to study on how the Northern Kingdom will be drawn together on their second Exodus journey. I decided to do this additional 3-part study regarding this extraordinary phenomenon and how it will occur. Because remember, the 9.5 tribes, they're scattered throughout Africa. Some are even northern. You might find bits and, few of the people from the different tribes in northern Egypt and Syria, and the northern parts of this area that they call the Middle East. Okay, but the greater number of the tribes, they're scattered predominantly, which are the 9.5 tribes, in Africa. Although Matsarayam, Egypt, is still called Africa, right? From as far west as Guinea, Bissau, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, forgive me if I haven't, and as far south as Namibia, not the very bottom of the continent of Africa, not South Africa, but Namibia, all right? And Namibia has the greatest concentration of the Northern Kingdom in that country, about 4 tribes, while the other tribes are scattered in a particular pattern. Now, if you look at the map provided on the community page, you will see it. You will see how these 9.5 tribes, which will look like 10, right? Because the half tribe of Loa is counted as 10. And they're scattered on the map that I'm going to show you. And also what I'm going to include on the community page, not only this map, but also a short video of this doctor by the name of Dr. Edwards, who had came across a study that was done. Don't know how long ago. It was done some time ago. All right. And what this study is showing, and this is how I'm going to explain why I believe with all my heart these are the 9.5 tribes. How I derived this information is based on a study done some time ago about the D-N-A- series of different kinds of people, and the results show this particular pattern on the map. So that's how I am going to show you how we are able to track where these 9.5 tribes are based on this particular D-N-A- study. All right. Now, this study that was done about the 9 DNA series, I'm not going to say that very often, but just so you can understand what I'm talking about. People from North America, not our people, other people from North America, Africans, and Europeans were all tested. And what they've discovered is that generally all other peoples had 6 DNA series. 6. Not all Africans in Africa have the 9 D-N-A- series. Only these 9.5, these 10 pockets of people, 10 tribes, in other words, which really works out to be the 9.5 tribes, because half a tribe of Loa is counted as 10. All right? Yes, they tested people from North America, but they did not test us, our people, the Negroes, because they are assuming that it is known that we came from off the coast of Africa, because that's where the Southern Kingdom fled. So therefore, we have the same DNA series, 9 DNA series. Now, let me continue reading on. Out of all the different countries in Africa, only those 10 types of people tested, 10 groups of people tested, had the 9 D-N-A- series, the same results as assumed for North Americans and those in the Caribbean, and many other Negroes whose lineage stem from Africa. All other peoples have only 6 of these series, D-N-A- series. All right. Now this is where you can see it on the map. The green bubbles, those are the ones that have the 9 series. All others, The ones in red, yellow, they are 6. Now, based on this information, it is easy to deduce that these are our Northern Kingdom brethren. If it was all Africans, if it was meant that all Africans had this same amount of series, then all of them would have tested positive for 9 DNA series. But they were not. Only these 10 groups of people. And they are on a particular pattern on the map. They're not scattered here, there, and everywhere. The way how the pattern looks is the way how they traveled. All right? They traveled and some decide, I'm going to settle here, and the others move on. And then they decide, I'm going to settle here, and then the others move on. So it's like in a line on the map, except for the 5 that are down below, which looks like Namibia, maybe even bordering on, what's the other country? I had the names of the country written down. But you will see it on the map. There's one that is on the outskirts of Namibia, and I had it written down somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. So one written on which could be Zimbabwe. All right. And even Angola, because the 4 that are in Namibia looks almost like they're bordering on Angola. That's the other country. But I would not be surprised if all 4 tribes settled in Namibia. And they're very close together, 2 on the coastline and 1 up north, which is close to Angola, and the other one is closer to, I believe it's either Botswana or Zimbabwe, one of those 2 countries. All right. But this is wonderful information, wonderful news, because contrary to what our brethren have been teaching, that our people are North American Indians, and as long as you look dark, you are our people. In fact, you don't even have to look dark, right? Because you could have been whited out, but you're still our people. Not so. Our people look like us. I remember I was watching this one pastor, he passed away now, and he was talking about him and his wife. They went to Africa quite a lot of times, and he said, look, we passed through Africa and there's some people there that look like us. I kid you not. And this is a well-known, famous pastor, and he said that, and he's one of us. He was a Negro. He went to Africa, and he's like, yeah, that's where our brethren are. That's where they are. So I did my own research, and I came across this video. Let me see if I can see it here. Although the 10 groups of people tested in Africa received the 9 DNA series, it is easy to discern that these are the 9.5 tribes. The half tribe of Lawai counted as number 10. All right? Number 10, the 10th group. I will include the interview with Dr. Edwards on the community page, and that's the person who came across. He said you have to be knowledgeable in genetics, right? That kind of field, so that you can understand exactly because it's all with all these different terminologies, these medical terminologies, and it's a dry read. I tried looking at it, but he kind of breaks it down for you, right? Now, he's not a believer. No, he's not. That's the only thing that I will warn you. He is coming from the point that we are part of those 9.5 tribes, and I believe that, right? Now, it goes to say that's the reason why the world hates us. Why people try to destroy us and yet try to be like us, all right? They don't like the color of our skin, but they go and they bake themselves in the sun. They don't like our kinky hair, but they go and get the perms. Right? We are fast. We are smart. We have the gifts. The problem is we're cursed. And because we're cursed, we can't get ahead. Right? We can't get ahead no matter how smart we are. Right? And in order for you to get ahead, you got to sell out. And those that don't sell out, they're still scraping rock bottom to get by. But it's a curse upon us. The Father warned us. All right. But the damage control trolls are doing their best to refute these findings, which were done by their own people. Imagine, they're the ones who did the finding, who did the study. These universities, or university, they did it way back when. I can't remember if it was the 80s or the 90s, but it was done quite some time ago. And this Dr. Edwards, he came across it. And this young man was interviewing him, and he was explaining what the results of this testing meant. All right? So that's how I have concluded that's where our tribes are. All right? Don't worry that they're trying to refute it. Trying to say that, no, it doesn't mean that they're so much smarter or they're geniuses or whatnot, blah, 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 blah. Right? So now they're refusing and debunking their own studies. Whatever. Now, when the Northern Kingdom will begin their exodus, all 9.5 tribes will begin at the appointed time, 4 to 5 days after the 6th seal, 45 minutes after the 7th seal. And we've done that study, and I've explained in great detail how this is going to roll out. So what I am going to do now in this particular study is to show you how they're going to actually begin their second exodus. And help to fill in if you feel like, okay, there's some information missing, fill that gap. All right? So if they're scattered in Africa, some people are like, well, how are they going to come together and be one again? Well, Alahayam, he is powerful, he's all-knowing and all-seeing, he's everything. He can do whatever he wants to do, and he will set these tribes. Once they are awakened, in fact, they will be awakened at this point of time because they will have gone through that war with the NWO, and they would have gone through the 6th seal, which is the great earthquake. They would at this point in time, be crying out to Alahayam, and he will hear them. He will hush the whole of heaven. That's the 7th seal, 45 minutes that the heavens were hushed because he's receiving from them their cries, whether praises, supplications, prayers, you name it, they're sending it all up, and there's sweetness to his ears. All right, and this is coming from hearts that are reforming to become his people. The sweetest praise that his ears can hear. All right, they're not crying out because their hearts are hardened. Although we know later on there are going to be a couple of them that are going to eventually walk away because the going is going to get a little tough, and instead of hanging in there, they're just going to walk away. And that's intentional by Alahayam because he's not bringing out any grays. Right? You're neither here nor there. You're neither black nor white. You're gray. All right? You're sitting on the fence. You're straddling the fence. See which way it's going to go. You're going to go with the stronger side. But if things get a little tough, you're going to jump and bail out. That's how some people are. They don't want to put both feet in. They don't want to make a solid decision. They just want to go with, the stronger team. or their own selves, by their own strength. Okay. So Alahayam will move out these tribes in an orderly fashion. This is not going to be everyone grabbing their stuff and running for the hills. No. He is going to move them out in an orderly fashion. Just like in the days of our forefathers when they were in the wilderness. Even before when they were in Goshen. Even when they were in Goshen, they came out in an orderly fashion. Mind you, the ones in Goshen, which is Egypt, by the way, they knew who they were. They knew their tribes. They knew their clans. They knew their family members. They knew everything. So they kind of stuck together. All right? So these are the 9.5 tribes that are currently in Africa. And this is the order of their setting out. Now, I am going according to the way how they were set out in the wilderness. When they came into the wilderness, they had to camp north, south, east, west, and the tabernacle was in the middle. All right? And there were 3 tribes per side. The order in which they camped, that was the order in which they will pack up and start to do their journeying. 3 tribes, then one of the families of Lawai will pick up the either the articles or the tent itself. Then another 3 tribes. Then the ark is taken by the Kohathites. I believe that's what they're called. Then you have 3 more tribes, and then you have the last set of Lawai carrying either the articles or the tent. One or the other. I believe that it's the articles. The first group would be the tent, because the tent has to be set up first. Then the Ark of the Covenant would be placed in its place in the most holy place, the Holy of Holies, and then the articles will come next and set up. That's the order in which they travel. I kind of had to jog my memory. There's a lot of information in there. I gotta kind of go through the files, kind of thing, you know. Anyways, so in this case, because they don't have the tabernacle with them, they're still going to be set out, because now he is bringing them and gathering them in one pivotal point where they're going to continue on as the 9.5 tribes. All right. So I'm going to pick up from there with the reading. Now, these are the 9.5 tribes that are currently in Africa, and this is the order of their setting out. So at the east goes first. Let me just make sure I have my, yes, the eastern tribes go first. And those tribes will be Yashashakar, which is Issachar, Zabawalawan, which is Zebulun. And only 2 tribes. And there's a reason for that, because 2.5 tribes will be the ones, the southern kingdom, that are taken up. So originally, with the tribes camping on the eastern side of the tabernacle, Yahawada was one of them. But Yahawada is part of the southern kingdom, so it's only 2 tribes. Now, the south is next, and that is Waban, which is Reuben, Shamaowan, which is Simeon, and Gad. The west is next, and west is the one that is farthest away, which will be Yawasap, and that will include the 2 tribes, his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Lawai, which is the priest tribe, those will be going together with from the far west, They're the ones that are the farthest west. The ones by Guinea-Bissau, Bissau. And then the northern tribe will be Dan, Asher, Naphtali, right? Now, because the tribes of Yawasap and Lawai are the farthest west, all right? And the tribes of Ra'ah, Waban, Shamaowan, and which is Simeon and Gad, are far south. Those are the ones that are down in the Namibia area. They will have the shortest rest times as compared to the other tribes, because they're the farthest ones that gotta reach the ones that are more central, because they're heading towards our land, the land of Yashraal. Remember, it's going to be one land mass at this point of time. There's going to be a few changes. So let me give you an example. For example, the tribe of Yawasa will be allowed to rest for a day to just a few days, because they're coming out with children. They're coming out with old people. They're coming out with pregnant women. They're going to come out with lame people. All right? They're going to be coming out with their cattle. So they're going to be resting the shortest. Give them a day or two to catch themselves, get their animals rested, and then they're up and going. And similar to the tribes down south, because they're coming from farther away. Meanwhile, the other tribes, the eastern ones like Yashashakar and Zabawalawan, it's a mouthful, would rest a much longer period of time. So they will rest up to a week, 2 weeks, a month, because it's given the ones that are farther away time to catch up with them. Now, this is to give all the other tribes the opportunity to reach each other in order to continue their journey now as the northern kingdom of the 9.5 tribes. And it's throughout this journeying in the beginning where they'll be sifted. So even while they're catching up to each other, the ones that are the potential rebels, because they're neither here nor there, they're just kind of like, okay, everyone is doing this, so I'll hang in for as long as I can. But if things go awry, I'm gone. Those kinds of people, they'll be sifted out. So by the time they all are gathered together, when they reach that pivotal point where they're all together, all these rebels will be gone, weeded out. Right? So he is going to use the 4 trumpets to help sift these ones out, to prove what is truly in their hearts. Will they be obedient to Alahayam or not? Will they trust him to give them sweet water? Will they trust him to protect them? Will they trust him to provide them food? Will they trust him to guide them? All right. So we're looking at the book of Joel, chapter 2. This is going to be the main scripture that we're going to be using throughout this series. But here, we're not going into it in detail. We'll do that in part 2 and part 3. But I just want to show you something. Verse 4, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. So these are when they are coming out now, they're not coming out as wimpy people, They're coming out as an army. He's bringing them out as an army. Each tribe is an army. So they're going to have the appearance of an army. Verse 5, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, as a strong people set in what? Battle array. These are words that implies, these are words that imply, the imagery of an army, battle array. Who gets into a battle array? An army does. Who rides a chariot? Soldiers do. Who rides the horse and who are called horsemen in back in those days and now in the coming days, but men of war. And men of war are actually called an army. All right? Verse 7. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war. There you go. So he's describing these people that are coming out to be like men of war, chariots, mighty men. And they shall march everyone in his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Again, these are words that give you the idea of armies. Verse 8, neither shall one thrust another, gives you the idea of them marching in an orderly fashion. When you watch soldiers marching no matter how big or how small the army is, they have a particular spot that they're marching, and no one can cross their path. Everyone march in their own path. And that's the order. All right? And that way they don't thrust against each other, because once you start thrusting against each other, now you have confusion. But the idea that Alahayam is giving to us here is that he is bringing out his people in an orderly fashion. There will be no chaos or confusion. These people are not going to be bouncing against each other trying to figure out where they're going to go and what they're going to do. They already did that, and he's now leading them in an orderly fashion. They shall walk everyone in his path, just like a soldier. Now let's look at verse 11. And Yahweh shall utter his voice before what? His army. For his camp, speaking of his armies, is very great. Now these are a few extractions from the book of Joel, which we will look at in greater detail later. Yahweh Alahayam always view his people, the 12 tribes, as his armies. That's why he's called Yahweh Ol Sabaoth, meaning Yahweh of hosts, not only of the heavenly hosts who are the angels, but of the earthly ones as well. And hosts means armies. So he is our Yahweh Alahayam Ol Sabaoth. So in the past, he commanded them to move within their tribes and within their clans to keep order when they traveled and when they camped. It was also for this reason why they were instructed to camp within their tribes in a particular order around the tabernacle. The manner in which they camped around the tabernacle was the same way in which they traveled. In the future, when the northern kingdom will be awakened to their true identity, Alahayam will also instruct them as to their clans and their tribes. He's going to tell them who they are. It will be in this order once again when he is ready to bring them out, that they will travel within their clans and tribes. So he's going to do it again. He is not the author of confusion. It is this precise order of the exodus of the northern kingdom that will cause the world to be in awe, because they will move out like mighty armies, no jostling and no thrusting against each other. No one thrusting against each other for leadership positions. No one saying, I am the man, I'm the one to lead you, we're supposed to go this way. None of that. None of that is going to be happening. All those ones are killed off right off the bat. And the ones that will be trouble later on, he's going to move them out. He's going to cause fear to drive them away. And then he's going to destroy them. His army, his armies coming out is going to be orderly. Okay, so let's look at For Ozara'ah, that's Ezra chapter 13, verse 39. And whereas you saw that he gathered another peaceable multitude to him, these are the 10 tribes, the 9.5 tribes, who were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So these are the 9.5 tribes that were taken away by the king of Assyria. And instead of bringing them back after captivity, he pushed them farther away from the land of Yashrael, because we are enemies against each other. All right, so I am showing you now in this particular study, this part 1 study, why the northern kingdom is the one that is going to be in the second Exodus and not the 12 tribes. And it starts off by knowing this very important precept that we are a divided nation. And why we are divided is because of what Shalamah did when he married all kinds of women and had all kinds of concubines, and they had all their gods in the land, polluting the land and polluting the people. And he was warned about it, but he ignored the warning. So in the hand of his son, the kingdom was divided in two. And we have been divided since, and we will become one only when Hamashiach comes again, and we'll see that later on. Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So they never kept the statutes in their own land, but they want to go far away. This was their plan, so that they can keep the statutes. But we know how that worked out, right? They end up being assimilated amongst the Africans and becoming just like the Africans. In fact, I'll go as far to say this: they're the ones who sold us out to the Europeans. All right, they're the ones who sold us out. But don't worry, we sold out Hamashiach, right? All right, we sold out Hamashiach. All right, let's move on. Verse 43, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. So I guess that's the narrowest part of the river, Euphrates, because Euphrates is a major river, one of the 4 main rivers that came from the Garden of Eden, by the way. But this was the place where Alahayam was leading his people away from the land. Verse 44, for Alahayam showed signs for them and held still the flood, meaning the waters, till they were passed over. So they passed through the waters just like the Red Sea crossing. Verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years, and the same region is called Asareth. Verse 46, then dwelt they there until the latter time. So they're still there. That's what the words latter time, meaning this period of time, the last days. So they dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they will begin to come, Ha'olah will stay the springs of the stream again. Now he didn't say Euphrates, because they're not coming back that way, they're coming another way, that they may go through. Therefore saw you the multitude with peace. So he's bringing them back. And they got to pass through the waters, just like our forefathers had to pass through the waters. It was a type of baptism. So they got to pass through the waters again. And the only other waters that they will have to pass through sounds like the Nile to me. That's a river. One of the major rivers. All right. Now the world will see these tribes moving with their flocks and cattle and will try to hamper their progress, but Alahayam will fight for them as he will be their deliverer. He's the one who's bringing them out. Nobody can't touch these ones as long as they stay within the boundaries that he has given to them, which will be his protection. All right? As long as they don't stray away from the group, they're safe. He will guide them through the wilderness, much like our forefathers were led through the wilderness. And just as our forefathers were organized in their clans and tribes with princes over them, so will he once again raise up his own leaders to lead his people to their destinations. To their destination. Now, he's not going to raise up one man like Masha to bring out his people. That's done. He himself is going to be the deliverer. What he's going to do is raise up leaders over the clans and leaders over those clans, the leaders of the clans. All right? That's how it's always been. You know, you have a leader over 50s, leader over 100, leader over thousands. So that if there are any issues, and there will be issues, because some of them, once they start seeing the trumpet judgments, they're going to want to run. They're going to try to convince other people to go with them. And it will be the responsibility of the leaders to keep order and to keep the people calm. And to teach them and to remind them of the goodness of Alahayam. How he protected them thus far. How he protected them through the war. How he protected them through the great earthquake. And he will continue to protect them because he is here with us. He's the one who is guiding us. So if those foolish ones want to go off, let them, but you don't go with them. He's going to need those kinds of encouragers. And those will be the leaders that he will raise up. Not to boss people around, not to tell them you have to do this and you have to do. No. Not those kinds of leaders. Because he himself is going to deal with his people. And I'll show you that later on. Alahayam will not have another Masha because this time around the people must be prepared to receive their instructions directly from him. The leaders are only there to help keep the order and the peace. So remember, there will still be rebels in their midst that must be weeded out. So he himself is going to give them the law, his law, his commandments, his judgments, his statute on the inward parts. He is ready to write it on their hearts and on their minds. All right? The leaders will help to remind them, hey, remember what he said in the law. All right? The leaders will be there to keep order and to keep the peace. Let's look at Shamawath, the book of Exodus chapter 13, verse 18. But Alahayam led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And Habanai ol Yashwa'al, the children of Yashwa'al, went up harnessed out of the land of Matzarayam. So now we go down to verse 21. And Alahayam went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. So he led his people by a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. Verse 22. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. As Alahayam did before with our forefathers, so will he do it again. He will be the one to lead our northern kingdom brethren out from their land, the lands of their captivity. But he will establish his own leaders within these tribes. He will instruct them when it will be time to camp and when it will be time to travel. So just like he did with our forefathers, he is going to do it again. And this is why I said he is going to protect them. He's going to protect them because he's going to be leading them. He's going to be their front guard and their rear guard. All right? So the enemy can't come and sneak up to them from behind and take them off one by one. No, he is protecting them from the behind and also in front. They're completely protected. Only when they leave the group, when they're, become fearful because of what they're seeing happening around them, and they run away, that's when they're no longer protected. Ba'amadabar, the book of Numbers, chapter 9, verse 15. And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, namely the tent of the testimony. And at evening there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until morning. So it was always, the cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. And when the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle, then after that, Habanai ol Yashwa'al, the children of Yashwa'al, journeyed. And in the place where the cloud abode, there Habanai ol Yashwa'al pitched their tents. At the commandment of Yahweh, Habanai ol Yashwa'al journeyed. And at the commandment of Yahweh, they pitched. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they rested in their tents. And when the cloud tarried long upon the tabernacle many days, then Habanai ol Yashwa'al kept the charge of Yahweh and journeyed not. So he was the one who instructed them when to camp, when to pitch their tents, or when to pack up, and it's time to move out. And he's going to do it like that again. Now remember, when they first came from Goshen, he was still that pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. They did not have the tabernacle. And they still had time to camp. So when they start to see the pillar of fire by night or the pillar of cloud by day start to move, in this instance, because there's no tabernacle, when they see the cloud or the pillar of cloud or the pillar of fire moving, then they will know that it's time to pack up and it's time to start moving. When the pillar of fire or the pillar of cloud becomes stationary, then they know it is time to camp. All right, and this will be visible for everyone to see. Verse 20, and so it was when the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of Yahweh, they abode in their tents, and according to the commandment of Yahweh, they journeyed. Everything came from him, not Masha. It came from Alahayam. Verse 21, and so it was when the cloud abode from evening unto morning, and that the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they journeyed, whether it was by day or by night, that the cloud was taken up, they journeyed. Or whether it were 2 days, or a month, or a year, that the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle, remaining thereon, the children of Yashwa'al abode in their tents and journeyed not. So that's why I was saying in the beginning that the tribes that are farthest away, their resting time is going to be shorter than the tribes that are, closer to the mark, to the point, the pivotal point, the point where everyone is going to meet. All right, they're going to camp the longest. Now, only Alahayam can pull this off. Only him. Because the distances between the tribes are going to be different. So because he is perfect in all his ways, perfect in his wisdom, he will know how long to give this particular tribe, who is closest to the mark, compared to the tribe of Yawasa, which is the tribe of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim inclusive. He knows how long to give each group so that in the time appointed, they will all meet at that one point, at that one place. And it will be perfect. There'll be no hustling and hurrying because he will cause them to camp longer than others. All right. But when it was taken up, they journeyed. Verse 23. At the commandment of Yahweh they rested in the tents, and at the commandment of Yahweh they journeyed. They kept the charge of Yahweh. At the commandment of Yahweh by the hand of Masha. So Masha helped to bring it all together because he was their deliverer. He was their leader. He was the one used by Alahayam along with his brother Ahawaran, right, to keep the order, to keep the peace, but it was too much for him. Did he not raise up 70 elders and then the others, they're called princes over the clans, so that they can take care of the small matters amongst themselves and the big matters they can bring to him? Yeah. But a lot of people look at Masha. Everyone wants to be like Masha. Oh yeah, I'm bringing out the whole 12 tribes. I'm going to bring out the 12 tribes of Yashrael, and then we're gonna go into the wilderness together and then kill one another. Because that's what's gonna happen basically. Because the people you're bringing out are not the 12 tribes. All right. Now, although there will be a tabernacle yet in their midst, as they will now be beginning their exodus, when they are all together as the northern kingdom, the 9.5 tribes, right? Because we're talking about the northern kingdom, then Alahayam will restore his tabernacle. So at the beginning of their journey, they will not have the tabernacle yet in their midst. And this is the beginning of their exodus. As this is the beginning of their exodus, he's still weeding them out. But when they're all together as the 9.5 tribes, then he will restore his tabernacle, because at this point of time, all the rebels will be gone. These will be the remainder, the remnant, the righteous remnant. And now he is ready to establish his presence with them. And not only that, remember the Garden of Odan is going to be before them always. So they'll be walking in a perpetual garden, being protected by the trees and getting food from the trees and whatnot. So then they'll be able to pitch the tent of testimony. And this, by the way, will be the same tabernacle that Masha and our forefathers used in the wilderness. Yes, it will be. It was made according to the specifications of Alahayam, what Masha saw in the 40 days while he was on the Mount Sinai. During those 40 days and 40 nights, he saw the likeness of the tabernacle in the heavens. So he was instructed to make the likeness of a portable tabernacle. And that tabernacle was folded up and placed in keeping when the house that was built by Shalamah, who is Solomon, the temple that was built, then they didn't need the portable tabernacle anymore, because he built a house for Alahayam. But they kept it. And they kept it in the temple. All right? And we're going to see some very interesting things what happens here. So that tabernacle, that tent of meeting or the tent of testimony is coming back and is going to be given to the northern kingdom. Why? Because the southern kingdom will be in third heaven. That's where the original tabernacle that Masha saw, that's where it is. All right. And we will be with the original tabernacle, but they will have a likeness of the tabernacle, just like we will be dwelling in the Garden of Odan, and they will be also dwelling in a likeness of Garden of Odan, all the way to they get to the land of Yashwa'al, which will become a likeness of the Garden of Odan. And in the time of the joining together of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, the Father is going to bring down everything, and everything will become one in the land. So it will be no more of a likeness of the Garden of Odan, but the Garden of Odan will be where our land is. All right, our entire land is going to be like the Garden of Odan, and his original tabernacle will be on the earth again. And that's where Hamashiach is going to be king and high priest forever there in Yerushalayim. And that's where it's going to be located. So all the likenesses will go away, will vanish, and the original articles will be established on the earth. Just like when the new heavens and the new earth and the new Yerushalayim comes down from heaven. Well, the new heavens will remain in the heavens, of course. But the new earth and the new Yerushalayim will descend and replace the old. Just like that. He can do it. In the twinkling of an eye, he can do it. But until Hamashiach comes, the northern kingdom, this is how they're going to be safe, dwelling in safety, and this is where they're going to have their rest. Because we will be having our rest in third heaven. All right. However, like I said before, this time around there will be no leader like Masha, which many leaders amongst our brethren claim to be. Leadership in the northern kingdom will be a shared leadership, not the style of many of our current brethren. So leadership will be shared. Yeah. So let's look at 2 Baruch chapter 6 verse 2. And I was grieving over Sayawan. Sayawan is Zion or Yerushalayim, the temple. The temple is called Sayawan. And lamenting over the captivity which had come upon the people. So this is when Nebuchadnezzar came and took away the southern kingdom. Verse 3. Suddenly a strong ruach raised me and carried me aloft over the wall of Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim and the tabernacle, because Yerushalayim is a city, but the tabernacle is called Sayawan. That's where Alahayam dwelt. When Shalomah made the sacrifices, Alahayam came down like a cloud, and he rested upon the tabernacle, because he recorded his name there. Wherever he records his name there, you pray towards the place, and he will answer you. And that's why Baruch and Jeremiah and all the different prophets wept when the people were taken into captivity, and they knew that the tabernacle was going to be destroyed, because it meant that the presence of Alahayam was no longer with them. All right? So that's why he was grieving over Sayawan. He knew what was coming. He told them what he was going to do. He was going, because of their disobedience and their rebellion, he caused them to be carried off into captivity. And the people were warned, but they would not listen, just like the people today. Our brethren today are being warned over and over and over again. Get your house in order. Stop trying to go after mammon. Stop seeking to build a life on this earth. Stop trying to eke out a living. You need to deal with the God that is sitting on the throne of your heart. To get rid of it, it's called mammon. It's the golden calf. The only person that's supposed to be sitting on the throne of your heart is Alahayam. But you see, you cannot have him sitting on your heart and go after these things. So they allowed this God, and I call it a God, by the name of Mammon, the golden calf, in their hearts, because it permits them to go after the things in this world, permits them to lust after material things. We will never learn, I guess. You shouldn't want anything from this world. I hear lately people are going after reparations. What is this that my ears are hearing? Why would you want their blood money? What are you going to do with it? Do you not know that when you receive money from them, you're receiving curses? What is wrong with our people? I don't get it. This is the same money that they've already killed a lot of our people. They use that's the blood money that comes from killing our people. But they don't care. It's reparations, and that's all they care about. Well, you're going to get your reparations, and you're going to get a good taste, a good healthy dose of hell's fire as well, because you're going to become cursed. Because you can't serve Alahayam and Mammon too. You got to choose which one you're going to serve. All right. Verse 4, and I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the city, each of them holding a torch of fire in his hands. And another angel began to descend from heaven and said to them, hold your lamps and do not light them till I tell you, because Alahayam was determined that these rebels called the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, he wasn't going to allow them the privilege to boast that they destroyed the temple. He was going to destroy it himself. They're going to come in and do the rest, but they cannot lay claim that they set fire to it and they destroyed it. All right, verse 6. For I am first sent to speak a word to the earth and to place in it what Yahweh Alahayam, who is the highest, has commanded me. And I saw him descend into the Holy of Holies and take from there the veil and the holy ark and the mercy seat, excuse me, and the 2 tables and the holy raiment of the priests, and the altar of incense and the 48 precious stones, wherewith the priests adorned and all the holy vessels of the tabernacle. And let's add to that the original tent. All right. Let's add to that list of articles that were taken by the angels. Let's add the tent of meeting with the poles and everything else to this list, because that's exactly where it is. Verse 8, and he spoke to the earth with a loud voice. Earth, 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 hear the word of Hashaddai, Alahayam, and receive what I commit to you, and guard them until the last times. Let's repeat that. Earth, 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 hear the word of Hashaddai, Alahayam, and receive what I have committed to you, and guard them until the last times, meaning the end of times, the end days. So that when you are ordered, you may restore them, so that strangers may not get possession of them. So all these foolish ones out there claiming that they found the Ark of the Covenant, and they found this and they found that, they're liars. Because the Most High, these are precious articles. And he has the earth hiding them. They're hidden inside the earth. And when the time is right, he is going to cause the earth to spew them out. And though the people that are going to receive them will be the northern kingdom, the righteous remnant, the ones that are left. They'll still be on their journeying, but now they will have the tabernacle. Isn't that something? So now they can camp accordingly, because all 9.5 tribes will be together. And when they set up their tabernacle in the area that is like a Garden of Eden, Garden of Odan, and they will rest there for however long he will allow them to rest. He will come like a cloud and rest upon the tabernacle. The tribe of Levi will be reestablished. For now, don't forget, we're all going to be priests to Hamashiach. But for now, the tribe of Levi will carry out their duties to carry the tabernacle and to carry the things inside the tabernacle. All right? There are going to be enough of them, don't worry. All right. But they don't need a high priest, because Hamashiach will be their high priest forever. And they will not have a veil anymore. They don't need the veil anymore, because he is also the veil. All right? So it's going to be slightly different than before. Verse 9. For the time comes when Yahushua also will be delivered for a time, until it is said that it is again restored forever. He's going to restore our city, don't worry. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up. So that's where our tabernacle, the portable one, is, along with the articles, all in hiding. Now the tent of meeting, along with its furnishings, will all be restored to the northern kingdom when they're all together and the rebels are weeded out completely. Alahayam will also restore the tribe of Levi to be the priests, conducting the necessary ceremonies and convocations. They're going to be keeping the convocations, which will be Yawam HaShabbat, which is the day of the Sabbath. They're going to be keeping the feast days. All right. They're going to be traveling for at least 3.5 years, about 3.5 years. Because from the time they leave their land and by the time they arrive in our land, the land of Yashwa'al, is going to be approximately 3.5 years. Because that's the length of time that the two witnesses will be prophesying judgments in our land and in the world. So this is not going to be a quick journey. But hey, let me just say this. Remember, time is shortened too. Time will shorten by trumpet number 4. All right, so there are going to be a lot of changes on the earth. Time is just going to speed by, and those 3.5 years is going to go by very quickly. So they're going to be keeping the holy convocations, and the tribe of Levi will help to conduct these convocations. However, the difference is there will be no high priest, as Hamashiach will be our high priest forever, and there will be no need to sacrifice for sins, which was the role of the high priest, because he became our eternal sacrifice. So they don't need to do those kinds of sacrifices, but they will do sacrifices of thanksgiving. All right. As these tribes are traveling along, they will be instructed in all the things until the day comes when they will put these teachings into action. So when they begin their journeying, before they're all congregated together as 9.5 tribes, Alahayam, through his Ruach HaKadosh, will be teaching them and instructing them. All right? So that when they actually come together now as the northern kingdom, the 9.5 tribes, The Lawai would know what they need to do, and so will the other people. They wouldn't need a person to tell them what to do. They will already know what to do because he's already taught them. All right? So that's the difference between our forefathers. When they were traveling in the wilderness, they had to constantly be reminded about the laws and the commandments and the statutes and the judgments, but these ones will have it all written on their hearts and on their mind. Now, and this will be sometime later in their journey when they put all these teachings into action, like the sacrifices, all right, the offerings. That will be sometime later. In the meanwhile, knowing that it will be the 9.5 tribes coming out in the second Exodus is vitally important to us, the southern kingdom. Without this knowledge and understanding, we will miss our regathering in the chariots, because there will be some of our brethren that will be convinced that there are no preparations to be done, just hang and occupy until he comes. Now, this is the biggest error being taught and believed by the southern kingdom, that you don't need to do anything, you just need to occupy till he comes. You keep hearing them saying that over and over again, occupy till he comes. Well, what does that mean? That means you continue working, you continue doing the things, eating and drinking and doing whatever you need to do to get by and make a salary to pay your bills and pay your rent and whatnots. But this is the time that he has given to us to get ourselves ready, to get our house in order. But we're looking at this time and thinking, well, we're going into the wilderness. We don't really have anything to worry about because everything that we need to figure out, we'll figure it out there. No, that's not it. That's not it at all. The problem is our people love this world so much and the things of this world that they don't want to give up doing what they love, even though it is beating them and killing them too. They don't want to give it up. All right. When in fact we have to get ourselves in order, like our forefathers who had to prepare to go up the mountain, Mount Sinai. They had to wash themselves and their clothing, stay away from their wives for 3 days. No hanky-panky. All right. This was their time of cleansing and purifying. Similarly, the southern kingdom is given a period of time to be cleansed and purified. And if this time is wasted on living lasciviously, then the result will be those ones being left behind to face the wrath of Alahayam. But this study is about the northern kingdom and their exodus, not the southern kingdom. What we can learn from the various scriptures and historical accounts to have a full picture of what this will look like. Therefore, for those who are not convinced that it will be the northern kingdom going into the Exodus, let us review Jeremiah, the prophet, and his prophecies. So let's look at Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 1. At the same time said Yahweh, will I be Alahayam of all the families. That means the clans and tribes of Yashrael. Not speaking of the 12 tribes. You got to read with Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? And they shall be my people. Thus said Yahweh, the people who were left of the sword, meaning war. What war is he talking about? The war between the Northern Kingdom and the NWO, the New World Order. That's at the 5th seal, because the martyrdom of the Northern Kingdom has arrived. So these ones found grace in the wilderness. They're the ones coming out in the wilderness, those who survived the war. Even Yashrael, when I went to cause him to rest. Yahweh has appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn you. He's the one who's going to draw the 9.5 tribes into the wilderness, because he's the one who's going to deliver them. Verse 4, again, I will build you, and you shall be built. Or version of Yashrael. When he speaks of a version, he's speaking of a people who have cast away all their pagan images and their pagan worship and returned to him. True worship. All right? So these are not the rebels. He's speaking to those who have returned to him. You shall again be adorned with your tabrets, and shall go forth in the dances of them that make merry. You shall plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant and shall eat them as common things. So he is giving them a future where they are going to enter into the land of Yashrael, and they're going to have plenty to eat. Verse 6, for there shall be a day that the watchmen upon Mount Ephraim shall cry, arise you, and let us go up to Sayawan. That means the tabernacle unto Yahweh Alahayam, our Alahayam. So let us go and worship Alahayam. Where? In his temple, in his tabernacle. Verse 7, for thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Yaokab, and shout among the chief of the nations. So when you hear Yaokab, he is still speaking of the northern kingdom, but not the virgin of Yashrael. He's speaking to them now as the kind of rebels that they are. All right? Remember, before our forefather Yaokab became Yashrael, he had to wrestle with the angel to get that name changed. And up to that point of time, he always referred to Alahayam as your Alahayam father, talking to his father Yatzachak. All right? But when he had his first experience with Alahayam, then it became my Alahayam, who is Alahai. Now he becomes his heavenly Abba. Okay, verse 8. Sorry, carrying on. All right, let's start from verse 7 again. For thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Yaokab, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish you, praise you, and say, O Yahweh, save your people, the remnant of Yashrael. He's speaking about the end times when they're going to come through the wilderness. They've passed through the war. They've passed through the great earthquake. Now they're passing through the wilderness, and they're still being sifted until they become the remnant. All right? Behold, I will bring them from the north country. That's not North America, by the way. It's not North America. The north country is Upper Egypt and all those northern countries up in there that a sprinkling of our people are located. But the greater majority of our people are, as you will see on the map, are right across Africa and lower to the bottom of southern Africa, and gather them from the coast of the earth. And that's exactly where they are, along the coastline. Namibia is a coastline. So is Guinea-Bissau. All right? Those are coastlines. And with them the blind and the lame, and the woman with child, and her that travails with child together. A great company shall return there. All right? Meaning they're returning home. So he's bringing out all kinds of people. The lame, the blind, the woman with child, and the one that is pregnant, that is close to delivery. He's bringing them all out. Verse 9, they shall come with weeping and with supplications will I lead them. So remember, at the seventh seal, when he caused the heavens to go silent, it is because of this. Weeping and with supplications. Because now, after the great earthquake, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go, what to do next. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble, for I am Abba to Yashraal, and Ephraim is my firstborn. And Ephraim is always referred to the house of Yashraal, the northern kingdom. The firstborn receives the inheritance. That's what happens to the firstborn. So the inheritance, which would be the land of Yashraal, where he's taken them. All right. And going back to verse 9, they're not going to be weeping and with supplications in the wilderness. No, they're not. That's going to happen before they start the wilderness. They start their journeying. Right? He's going to lead them. And he's going to lead them in a straight way by the waters. Verse 10, here, and I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters. And we know who that rivers of waters are. All right? The rivers of waters, they flow. Actually, I don't want to get into yes, because that's going way off course. I'm covering that later on. I'm covering that, I think it's in part 3. The rivers of waters. Yes, it will take me way off track here. So I'm not going to forget. So I will probably come back to this particular scripture to show you that he will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way. This is an awesome, awesome, awesome prophecy. All right, so let's go on. Yes. Verse 10, hear the word of Yahweh, O you nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Yashraal will gather him and keep him as a shepherd does his flock. Now, he's not speaking of the 12 tribes. He's speaking only of the northern kingdom. For Yahweh has redeemed Yaakov and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore, they shall come and sing in the height of Sion, and shall flow together to the goodness of Yahweh, for wheat and for wine and for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd, and their soul shall be as a watered garden. So he is telling them what he is going to do, what the end result will be after he has led them to their land, to our land. And they shall not sorrow anymore at all. It's all over. Because now they will be in eternal peace. Verse 13, then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together. For I will turn their mourning into joy, and will comfort them, and make them rejoice from their sorrows. And I will satiate the soul of the priests with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, said Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rahel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children, because they were not. And this is the time of Yaakov's trouble. So there's a mixture of I'm showing you what the end is going to be like for you guys, but I'm also referring you to all the things that you've been through before you start your journey, and this is what's going to happen while you're on your journey, and this is what's going to happen at the end of your journey. So you have to know what it is that he's speaking about. All right. Verse 16, thus said Yahweh, refrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work shall be rewarded, said Yahweh, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. And there is hope in your end, said Yahweh. that your children shall come again to their own border. And where is that? That's Yashraal. I have heard Ephraim bemoaning himself thus, you have chastised me, and I was chastised as a bullock unaccustomed to the yoke. So that is slavery. The northern kingdom was chastised because of their disobedience and their rebellion, and they were sold into slavery. Right? Turn me and I shall be turned, for you are Yahweh Alahai, my Alahayam. Surely after that I was turned, meaning now they've repented. It says here, I repented. In order for the yoke to be removed from off of them permanently, there must be repentance. All right? And after that, I was instructed, I smote my thigh. I was ashamed, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. Verse 20, is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spoke against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels, meaning my heart, are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, said Yahweh. So it wasn't pleasure for Alahayam, Yahweh, to bring us into slavery or sold us into slavery, to be mistreated by our slave masters. It was not a joy for him. It was pain in his heart to do it. But we deserved it because we were rebelling against him. And he sent his servants to correct us, correct our forefathers and correct us. But we didn't want to listen. And instead, our forefathers killed the prophets. Yes, they did. And we killed his son, right? All right. He sent his son, the final straw, to help us back on the path. And what did we do? Okay, we turned against him too. Verse 21, set you up wear marks, and that's signposts. Make you high heaps. Again, that is signposts. Set your heart toward the highway, even the way which you went. Turn again, O virgin of Yashraal. Turn again to these your city, meaning return to your cities, O remnant of the northern kingdom, the righteous remnant. That's who the virgin is. Now he's asking a question to Yaakov. How long will you go about you, O you backsliding daughter? All right. For Yahweh has created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. That is a very strange phrase there, sentence. And one day I will do a study on that. That is a mouthful right there. It's a huge study. All right. Verse 23. Thus saith Yahweh, O Sabaoth, he is Yahweh of armies, Yahweh of hosts, Alahayam, O Yashraal. As yet they shall use this speech in the land of Yahweh and in the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity. Yahweh bless you, O habitation of justice and mountain of holiness. There shall dwell in Yahweh itself, and in all the cities thereof together, husbandmen and they that go forth with flocks. For I have satiated the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. So he's telling them, at the end of the day, this is what you're going to receive. This is how you're going to be living in the land that I have given to you through your forefathers. Verse 27. Behold, the days will come, said Yahweh, that I will sow, meaning produce seed, the house of Yashraal and the house of Yahweh with the seed of men. So let's read that again and let's understand what he is saying here. Behold, the days will come, said Yahweh, that I will sow the house of Yashraal and the house of Yahweh. So the house of Yashrael is not the 12 tribes. This is the proof. Because the house of Yahweh is the southern kingdom. The house of Yashrael is the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom. And he said, I will sow them with the seed of many, meaning he's going to cause them to multiply. All right? He's going to cause them to multiply, and with the seed of beasts. So he's going to cause even the beasts, their flocks, their herds, to multiply. Going down to verse 31. Behold, the days come, said Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashrael, the northern kingdom, and with the house of Yahweh. So can it be the 12 tribes when he's speaking of the house of Yashrael? No, he's speaking of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So he's going to make a covenant with both of them before he brings them together. So the reason why he's going to do that is because he's going to weed out the rebels before he makes a covenant with them. Now, in saying that, the southern kingdom, at the point of time that they're taken in the chariots, they will be already in covenant with him, because only those in covenant with Alahayam will be regathered. The northern kingdom, before they become the 9.5 tribes, they too will be weeded out, and then at that point of time, the covenant will be set. And not only that will happen, they will also be sealed forever. So verse 31 tells us that there are 2 kingdoms, 2 houses, 2 nations. House of Yashrael, house of Yahweh. Verse 32. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Matzarayan, the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband to them, said Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashrael after those days. So he's speaking now to the northern kingdom. After those days, said Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their Alahayam, and they shall be my people. So he is going to do it himself. What our forefathers could not do and did not want to do, which is to go up to the mountain because they wanted to serve the gods in their heart called Mammon. But these ones, when he writes his law on their inward parts, this is the righteous remnant. This is the virgin of Yashrael. Verse 34. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said Yahweh, for I will forgive their iniquity and I will remember their sin no more. So at this point of time, like I said to you, that he is going to teach them himself. He's going to instruct them in everything that they need to know. They don't need a leader to teach them anything. At this point of time, the leaders will just be there to help them to, okay, it's time for us to get and go. It's time for us to go. But everyone will know what it is that they need to do. Yes, they will. All right. Leaders aren't going to have it tough like Masha and all the other leaders with our forefathers. Constant rebellion, right? Constant fighting for top positions. And there's not going to be any of that. I am teaching this and you got to believe this and not that, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to be happening because the Father himself, Abba, is going to write it on their hearts. Everything that they need to know to walk in his commandments, he will instruct them, and he's also going to write it with his finger on their hearts, on their inward parts. They don't need a man to teach them anything, for sure. They already know for themselves, from the least of them to the greatest. Everyone will be on the same page, have the same mind. All right. So let's look at Ezekiel chapter 37, starting from verse 11, because we know this scripture. It is the valley of dry bones. So let's see who these dry bones are. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yashua. Now, just because you see the word whole does not mean all 12 tribes. Speaking of the northern kingdom. Behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. And that's exactly how they're going to feel after the sixth seal. All right? After the sixth seal. After they've gone through the war, after they've gone through the earthquake, this is how they're going to feel. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh Alahayam, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Yashrael. So I'm going to take you out of the place of deadness. You see, he woke them up when we were taken. And that was after the fourth seal. And before the fifth seal, they were awakened to their true identity. But there are a lot of things that began to happen. All right? There are a lot of rebels in the midst. A lot of them. So how the Father how the Father dealt with them is through that big war that will happen with the New World Order and them. Many of them are going to be killed in that war. And many of our righteous brethren as well. All right? But they will be in the process of coming out of their graves. And what will help to seal their fate, to help them to see once and for all the gods that they have served, the pagan ways that they lived, is not doing anything for them. They got to call on Alahayam. All right? So this prophecy that was given to Ezekiel to give to them is a perpetual prophecy, meaning it is still there waiting for them because it has not been fulfilled yet. Perpetual is not the correct word, sorry. It has not been fulfilled yet. It will be fulfilled very soon. So when he told Ezekiel to prophesy, that prophecy is still there. Because at the appointed time, they're going to come out of their deadness. Excuse me. Got a tickle in my throat. He's going to bring them out of their deadness. And at the end of it all, they're going to go into the land. He's going to bring them into the land of Yashua. Verse 13. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and put my Ruach in you, and you shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, said Yahweh. Right? So he's telling them what he's planning on doing. Verse 15. The word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Moreover, you son of man, take you one stick. Now, these verses, again, they prove that we are still divided. And how long we are going to remain divided for? How long? All right? These next few verses help us to understand that we are a divided kingdom, and we will remain divided until Hamashiach comes. Verse 16. Moreover, you son of man, take you one stick and write upon it, for Yahweh and for the children of Yashraal, his companions. So Yahweh is the tribe of Judah, the southern kingdom, and the children of Yashraal, his companions, will be the other two tribes, which will be the half tribe of Lawai and the tribe of Benaiah Bayam, who is Benjamin. All right, those are his companions. That's the southern kingdom. Then take another stick and write upon it, for Yahweh. This is Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, because Ephraim is also the northern kingdom is also referred to as Ephraim. It's also referred to as Yahweh. They're different names that the Most High gives the northern kingdom. All right. And for all the house of Yashraal, his companions, meaning the other tribes, the other tribes, to make up the 9.5 tribes. Verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall be one in your hand. So only in the hand of the Almighty will these two tribes become one again, because he was the one who divided them. Therefore, he will be the one to bring them as 12 again, one kingdom. Verse 18, and when the children of your people shall speak unto you, saying, Will you not show us what you meant by these? Say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Alahayam, Behold, I will take the stick of Yahweh, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Yashraal his fellows, those are 9.5 tribes, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Yahweh, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the sticks whereon you wrote shall be in your hand before their eyes, because he is letting them know you are a divided kingdom right now, but later on in the latter days you will become one again. You will become 12 tribes again, but only in my hand. Verse 21, and say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Alahayam, Behold, I will take Habanai ol Yashraal from among the heathen, where they be gone, and gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. So he's going to gather the children of Yashraal, the northern kingdom, where they be gone, and he will gather them on every side. So from all the directions that he spoke of, and bring them where? Into their own land. He's the northern kingdom. They're the ones that are going to occupy the land until we come. Verse 22, and I will make them, meaning the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, one nation in the land upon the mountains of Yashraal, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. So when is this going to happen? When he bring them together in his hand. And there's only one time, in one particular time, when that will take place, and that's when Hamashiach comes back to the earth with the southern kingdom The northern kingdom will already be in our land. And when we come down with him, then we will become one kingdom again. There'll be no more rebels amongst us to fight against one another, to jostle against one another, to thrust one another, wanting to be top dog. There'll be none of that anymore. All that is done with. We're going to be a peaceful people, a loving people. That's coming back. But only after the sifting of the nations. The northern kingdom, starting with the southern kingdom first, and then the northern kingdom. He's sifting out the rebels. All right. Verse 23. So he is going, we will not be divided anymore once he established his kingdom here on the earth. All right. Verse 23. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. So all that is done, is finished. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Alahayam. So he is going to cleanse us, not only with words, but he's going to cleanse us with his water. We're going to see that in part 3. He's going to purify us and remove the sin nature from within us. All right? Those are the rivers of waters that he's going to lead the northern kingdom by. And the southern kingdom, they were going all where they're going, that's where the sea of water will be, which is the same as the rivers of water. Or rivers of waters. That's a special kind of water that purifies. That even if a man is black, then he becomes white. Black means evil, right? There's that sin nature that makes us evil. The only reason why we don't appear black to Alahayam is because we are cloaked in the righteousness of his son. Because we believe in his son, right? And his son, yes, it atones our sin, but it does not remove the sin nature. No, it does not. It atones us. And when we're atoned, it means it satisfies the wrath of Alahayam, so that his wrath is not against us anymore. It is rolled off. The reproach is rolled off. But we still have the problem of a sin nature that needs to be taken care of. And the only way that sin nature is going to be taken care of is when we bathe in the waters that he created during those 6 days of creation. All right? Because he knew what was going to happen with Adam and Hawa. So he already made a provision during those 6 days of creation. He knew what was going to happen. And he already made a way. So he's going to cleanse us thoroughly. So we will become light again. And we will be exuding his light like a garment, like the angels. All right? Stick with this lesson. You're going to realize some awesome things that are going to happen for us. All right? I can't throw it all together because I'm giving you precepts. This is how I teach. All right? I give precepts. And I give you all the evidence that you need so that you can see it for yourself. I could easily have done this in one lesson. But that's not the way how I teach. I teach and I give precepts from the scriptures and I explain them to you. All right? Because I want you to understand. All right? Okay. So this is how we will be cleansed. He's not talking about killing a bull or a cow or whatever. He's not talking about that kind of cleansing. No, he's talking about permanent cleansing. The eradicating that sin nature from within us so that we no longer have a sin nature. We will return to how Adam and Hawa were before they sinned. In fact, we will be upgraded. Why? Because of all that we've been through, and we have proven ourselves worthy. All right, more about that in part 3. All right, my throat is acting up. All right. And they will be my people, then shall they be my people, and I will be their Alahayam. That's covenant, by the way. Those 2 sentences speaks of covenant. They shall be my people, and I shall be their Alahayam. That is covenant. Verse 24, and Dawad, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. Now, I've pondered on this and I've prayed about it, and I said, okay, Father, is this symbolic? Is Dawad, my servant, symbolic? And he said, no, because Dawad is coming back. Dawad is coming back. Remember, all those that died in righteousness will rise again on the millennial reign, all right, to receive their rewards and live forever. And Dawad is one of them. So here he's saying, Dawad is coming back as king. All right? He's coming back as leader, in other words, because we already have a king. His name is Yahawasha o Hamashiach. All right? But he's going to bring back Dawad and reestablish him as our leader. Oh, yes, he will. It's an awesome thing to witness when it happens. He's bringing back Masha too. All the various ones, Abraham, yes, they're going to be our elders and leaders, and he only, you have to be there. In other words, you gotta have to be there to understand how it's all going to work out. And yet these people are not going to lord over us. Why? Because if you read about these people and how their hearts were so humble before Alahayam, that's why he gave them the leadership, because he could trust leadership in their hands, because they were such humble people and meek. All right? Not like our brethren today that like to beat on their chest like a couple of gorillas. All right? I'm head man. I'm big. I'm the man. I'm the king. And I wish our sisters would stop calling these men kings. They don't deserve the title. Come on. Come on. They don't deserve the title. All right? And calling the women queen. Don't call me queen. I don't deserve that title. Call me daughter of Zion. Daughter of Sayawan. Bath, old Sayawan. Don't call me queen. I don't want to be queen. There's only one king over us, and that is Hamashiach. But the problem with our brethren and our sisters, as soon as they get these words in our heads, your heads start to swell. And you start, talking a whole bunch of nonsense. And it just baffles me. Why would you want to be called a king? All right? Stop with this nonsense. Come on. We should be getting ourselves, we should be humbling ourselves before the Most High as servants. That's who we are, servants of the Most High. And we need to act like servants. But the problem when you start calling somebody a king, they start walking and acting like a king and lording over you. And they don't have any intelligence whatsoever. They don't have any understanding of the word. And that's a fact. You listen to them and you're like, seriously, give me some scriptures. Give me some scriptures. Don't just say things off the top of your head. So, Dawad is coming back to be our leader. He was a king chosen by Alahayam. In the very beginning, he was a man after the Father's heart. He loved him because he didn't lord over his people. Yes, he made a lot of mistakes, but that's how we are with sin nature. We make mistakes. But one thing about Dawud, he repented. He repented. Can't say that about us. We make the mistakes and we want to be wrong and strong. Don't want to repent. Oh, no, that's just who I am. Right? All right. All right. Stay that way. Yes, and they shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Yaakov my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children's children forever. And my servant Dawud, you see, here he goes again, shall be their prince forever. So when he said king, he's just talking about he's going to be a leader forever. I'm looking forward to that day. I can't wait to see Dawud. I can't wait to see our forefathers. Oh, I just can't wait. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in their midst forever. All right. So he is coming back, and he's bringing back his sanctuary. And this one here, verse 26, and multiply them. So during the 1,000, in fact, even before the 1,000 year reign begins, all the way into the land, our people will be multiplying. Just like us in third heaven, we will be multiplying up there too. When we come down together, we'll all, for those 1,000 years, because the prophecy for Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, meaning that our people are to be like the sand on the seashore and the stars in heaven, can't count them, will come to pass. We are that way right now, but the greater majority of our people are rebels. They're heathens. They're Gentiles. All right? But the ones that he will cause to multiply will be the righteous remnant, and we will not be a remnant anymore. We will be a great multitude of righteous people. And that's why, with pleasure, he will set his sanctuary in our midst forevermore. No more sin, no more shame, no more rebellion. Verse 27, my tabernacle also shall be with them. Yes, I will be their Alahayam, and they shall be my people. Covenant words. And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Yashrael, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So the other nations are going to see this happening. All right? The Gentile nations, they're going to see this happening. And they're going to know that we are the people of the book. We are the people in covenant with Alahayam and not them. Right? And we're the ones that he is going to sanctify, because we're the ones that are going to have to carry out certain duties of rulers and priests for the Gentile nations. There will be Gentile nations, but they're going to have to worship Alahayam. But for the sake of calling them, to separate them from us, we still call them Gentiles, because they're not of our lineage. But they will have to, if they make it this far into the millennial reign, many of them are still going to turn against Yahweh and join with the enemies of that final Satan that's going to come out of the pit. When he brings his armies against Hamashiach and us in the land, there are going to be millions of them. But it is Yahweh himself who's going to destroy them all. We're not going to have to do anything. There's no more fighting for us after this. The Southern Kingdom, we're not called to fight. The Northern Kingdom, the only time they're called to fight is against the New World Order, when it rises up. Right? And after that war, there's no more war for them. No more fighting. No more fighting needed. Even when they bring the armies in the mountains of Yashrael, Alahayam himself is going to cause them to turn against each other. That's Ezekiel 38. All right. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 1. The word that came unto Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, thus speak Yahweh Alahayam, O Yashwa'al, saying, write you all the words that I have spoken unto you in a book. For lo, the days come, said Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people, Yashwa'al and Yahwada. 2 kingdoms. So I'm going through these scriptures again. I've done it before, but I'm going through it again to show you that we are 2 kingdoms. So I will bring again the captivity of my people, Yashwa'al and Yahwada, said Yahweh, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. So at the end of the day, we all will live in the land, but it will start with Yashwa'al, the house of Yashwa'al first, the northern kingdom first. Verse 4. These are the words that Yahweh spoke concerning Yashwa'al and concerning Yahwada. All right. For thus said Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask you now and see whether a man travail with child, meaning that they're going to be in so much pain and agony of heart that it would be like a woman giving birth. And when will this happen? During the time of the New World Order war. This is the northern kingdom that will be travailing. All right, will be like a woman travailing with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness? They're in pain, they're in agony, they're in fear. Because this New World Order is a technology-based empire that is going to be vicious. And ruling along with it will be the anti-Messiah. And it's going to be vicious. It's going to be a vicious war. Verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Yaakob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And why he called him Yaakov? Because at this point of time, the northern kingdom are still like Gentiles. They have just been awakened from their true identity. And now they're realizing that they're surrounded by their enemies, and they're not going to submit to the authority of the NWO and its king, the anti-Messiah. So they gotta fight. All right, you gotta fight. And even though they're still going to be like Gentiles, that Ruach HaKadosh is still going to help them. Alahayam is still going to help them. Yes, he will. Because his people, although they're going to be prevailed against, the enemy will not be able to destroy them completely. He's not going to want. They're going to want to annihilate them, but they cannot, and they will not. But many will die, and that's why they're going to travail. That's why they're going to be like a woman in travail. That's why their faces are going to turn into paleness when they see all the death and destruction around them. Because this war is going to last 3.5 years. But he says a time of Yaakov's trouble, and he will save him out of it. Meaning, I'm going to preserve you because I have plans for you. So he's going to send the great earthquake, and that earthquake is going to destroy the technology of the NWO, sending them underground. So the war is going to come to an abrupt end. Verse 8. For it shall come to pass in that day, said Yahweh O Sabaoth, that I will break his yoke from off your neck. He's going to break the yoke of the Gentiles. Because they've been living like a Gentiles. They've been enslaved. They're living like slaves without knowing that they're slaves. Just like how we are living in this world today. We think we're free because we're walking around, but we're not really free. We're slaves to the system. So he's going to break the yoke off their necks, and will burst your bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Yahweh their Alahayam and Dawad their king, whom I will raise up unto them. So he's showing them the future when Dawad will return as their leader. Therefore fear not, O my servant Yaakov. Again, he's still speaking to them as there are Gentiles, no transforming. Neither be dismayed, O Yashua. So no, he's telling them, calling them Yaakov, and yet he's speaking to them as Yashua, because that's where they are transforming to be, his people, Yashua. For lo, I will save you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. So he is going to bring them out of this trouble, right? He's going to bring them out, because he knows who belongs to him. It's just a matter of time for them to be fully transformed, to be the virgins of Yahshua. Verse 11, for I'm with you, said Yahweh, to save you, though I make a full end of all nations where I have scattered you, yet will I not make a full end of you. But I will correct you in measure, and will not leave you altogether unpunished. And this is what the war is all about. This is what the earthquakes and all the different siftings that they have to go through. It is to purge them. All right? It is to purge them, to prove what is in their hearts, whether they are for him or not, whether they believe him with all their hearts and will walk in obedience, complete obedience to him or not. He said, but I will not leave you altogether unpunished. So you might think you're, excuse me, you might think you've gotten out of the war. You might think you've gotten out of the earthquake, but there's still more sifting coming. More sifting. Because he knows the hearts of men. Verse 12, for thus saith Yahweh, your bruise is incurable, and your wound is grievous. There's none, excuse me, there's none to plead your cause, that you may be bound up. You have no healing medicines. So these are the ones that he's going to destroy. Why? Because if you're living in sin, if you're living in sin and you do not repent of your sin, it's like a wound that is grievous, a bruise that is incurable, because you refuse to repent. So the only solution is to destroy, to get rid of the ones that are sick, the incurable ones. All right? Because there's no healing medicines. How can you heal rebellion? If you don't want to repent, how can the Most High heal you? It's only after you repent, then you can be healed. Because you have taken the first step to acknowledge that you have sinned, you've broken his commandments, and you are repentant of it. So now he can come in with the healing balm and and bound you up, right? With healing medicines. But for these ones that are incurable because of the hardness of their hearts and their rebelliousness, and there's none that will come and plead for them. Not even the lovers that they had. Verse 14, all your lovers have forgotten you. Who are their lovers? The pagan gods that they used to worship. You think they're going to come and rescue them from all this trouble that they're in? And that's how the Most High is going to draw the line in the sand to prove to them that all these gods that they served all these generations is nothing more than a piece of wood or a brick, a piece of metal The works of their hands that have no eyes, no ears, no mouth, can't even move. All right? So they're going to have a decision to make. Who are they going to serve? Continue on from verse 14. They seek you not, for I have wounded you with the wound of an enemy. So he caused the enemy to wound them. He wanted to say wound. To wound them. To injure them. Why? Because they were being chastised for their rebellion. With the chastisement of a cruel one for the multitude of your iniquity, because your sins were increased, because you broke all of my commandments, the laws, the statutes, everything that I've given to you, you've broken. You've taken on lovers. You've changed who you are. Right? Verse 15, why are you crying for your affliction? Your sorrow is incurable for the multitude of your iniquity, because your sins were increased. I have done these things unto you. I've brought this sorrow upon you. Now the next thing that you need to do is repent. Once you repent, then we are on the path, on the right path of recovery, of healing, restoration. I brought all these evils upon you, just like what's happening to the southern kingdom. All these things that are happening to our people. Hearing about all these things happening in Mississippi and all those other places that I don't know why our people are still living there. All right? All these things are brought upon us because we are rebellious. Because if you're walking in righteousness, the first thing the Father will tell you is sell up and get out. And I will lead you to a place where I can protect you. But because of rebellion, oh no, this is my land, this is where I was raised, this is where my mother was raised, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was raised. So I ain't going nowhere. Right? They want to stay put. And they want the Most High to come in like a storm and bring destruction on their enemies. But he's not going to do that. He's going to cause the enemies to bring destruction on your head. I don't feel sorry for none of my brethren that are rebellious. They refuse to pack up and get out at this stage of the game. At this stage of the end times. If you don't know that we are in the end times, after the last 3 years that we have been through all this propaganda and all these, oh my goodness, all the lies and deceit that have been placed before us, and we still think that we are, living in a normal society, and you are still hoping to live a reasonably decent life, well, you got to be really blind, deaf, and dumb. You really got to be. Because end times is in neon lights in the sky. We are in the end times. The days are being numbered. The enemy knows this. That's why he's ramping up evil like nothing before. Ramping it up. Everything that you think that the devil can do he's doing it right now. We still want to carry on and hope for the best and complain when it doesn't go our way. All right? But we brought all of this stuff on ourselves, and the Most High permitted our enemies to bring this affliction upon us. And we still aren't listening. No, we're not. We're not listening. We're not taking heed. You need to come out. There's some cities, there's some states that you need to come out of. Verse 16. Therefore, all they that devour you shall be devoured, and all your adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil you shall be a spoil, and all they that prey upon you will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto you, I will heal you of your wounds, said Yahweh, because they called you an outcast, saying, This is Saiwan. Saiwan is the referring to worship, the place of worship, the people of worship, whom no man seeks after. So Saiwan, we know, is the tabernacle. That's the place, the center for worship. And when we are in righteousness with Alahayam, we also becomes part of his Saiwan, his center of worship, place of worship. So once we repent of our sins and we begin to obey his commandments, we turn away from our wicked ways and cast away all the pagan gods and the pagan worship that we have been walking in, then he can come in and heal our wounds. Now he can come in and restore health unto you. Don't worry about the captives and the adversaries, the ones that come against him. He is going to deal with them. He has his judgments that he's going to bring against every nation that has robbed us, tortured us, killed us. Speaking of our brethren, our forefathers, he's going to come against them. He's keeping record of who did what and when. What we need to do is make sure that we are not in the way, that we do not partake of their plagues. All right? We need to get out of our way, out of his way, Alahayam's way. We want to be restored. We want him to heal us of our wounds. But it starts with repentance. Verse 18. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakob's tents, and is speaking again of the northern kingdom, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon her own heap, because that's how our city is right now, a heap. And it's going to become an even bigger heap when the two witnesses come in. And the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. Verse 19. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry. And I will multiply them. Again, he's talking about multiplying his people. And they shall not be few. So he's bringing out a remnant, but he's going to cause us to multiply. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. All right, verse 20. Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me. And I will punish all that oppress them. So that's why we don't need to take revenge. We don't need to go and avenge ourselves. We just need to make sure that we don't become a part of or partake of their plagues. We need to make sure that the wrath of Alahayam does not fall heavily upon us. All right? Leave his matters in his hands. What we need to take care of is our own business. Verse 21. And their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. And he's speaking about the northern kingdom that he's going to raise up for them, out of themselves, their own leaders. He's going to establish his own leadership from amongst them. They're not establishing themselves. He's establishing them. And their governor shall proceed from the midst of them, and I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me? Said Yahweh. So he's the one that is going to draw the leadership unto himself, because he's the one that's going to raise them up. And these are not going to be leaders that are going to be this head honcho. They want to be, big ups. They're going to be humble, meek people, because they're going to recognize that to be a leader, I'm going to have to be a servant because I'm here to serve the Father's people. But a lot of leaders today, they think that they're kings and queens, and they treat one another as such. But we need to be like servants to each other, to serve one another. And that's the problem. And that's why he himself is going to raise up his leaders amongst the northern kingdom and amongst the southern kingdom. He's going to raise them up himself because they're going to be people after his own heart. Verse 22, and you shall be my people, and I will be Alahayam. Again, that is covenant. He keeps repeating the covenant. Verse 23, and Alahayam is your Alahayam congregation, speaking of the assembly. This is like more than one person. Alahayak is personal, but Alahayam is like a group. So in this case, it will be the northern kingdom is calling him Alahayam. Verse 23. Well, actually, he is calling himself Alahayam because he will be their Alahayam. Your Alahayam, actually, not their. Your Alahayam. Verse 23. Behold, the whirlwind of Yahweh goes forth with a fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. You see, that's why we don't have to worry about the wicked people in this world. We just got to make sure that we don't get mixed up in their wickedness. All right? We got to make sure that we don't get mixed up in their wickedness, because when Alahayam releases fury, it's going to be like a whirlwind of pain and torment. And it's not going to end. It's going to continue on forever. And if you don't want to partake of the lake of fire, you need to come out from amongst them. All right? And not partake anymore of the delicacies of the system. All right. Verse 24. The fierce anger of Yahweh shall not return until he have done it. Until he have performed the intents of his heart. He is planning on bringing judgments, harsh judgment on this earth. You know why? Because he's given thousands of years for people to get their lives in order, from generation to generation. But each generation has gotten worse than the previous generation. And it's getting even worse still. In the latter days you shall consider, meaning understand it. In the latter days. So when this prophecy was given, they might not have understood what this prophecy meant, because it was not intended for the ears of that day, but it is intended for us, because we are living in the days of the end times. And because we're living in the end times now, we can put all these things into perspective, plus the fact that Ruach HaKodesh is revealing to us giving us his revelation of his word. He's unveiled, unsealed his prophecies. So now we can understand it. We couldn't understand it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because it was not the time. But now we can understand it, because now is the time. It is very important to understand all of the principles and the precepts in the scriptures, but this understanding only comes from Ruach HaKodesh. Without his help, we will continue on in darkness all the way to the lake of fire. All right. The reason why we need to understand, because when we understand, then it brings about a change within us, and it causes our faith to grow, and we continue to walk in righteousness and in holiness, because now it is adding to our belief in Him. It is strengthening our belief in Him, and we are growing and maturing that much more. All right. We have the enemy coming against us all the day long. We are fighting against an enemy that our eyes can't see. And Alahayam knows this. That's why he has given us provisions. That's why he's given us his Ruach HaKadosh. That's why he's given us his word, his prophecy, his truth. Because we are without excuse. And most importantly, he has given us his son. So we are without excuse. We can't go before him and say, well, we didn't know, we didn't understand. He will say, but I gave you my spirit, I gave you my son, I gave you my word. What else could I have given to you that I didn't give to you? What more can I have given to you to help you to understand? If you reject my son, you're going to reject Ruach HaKadosh. You're going to reject my word. You're going to reject me. What more could I have done for you? One of the most important precepts that we must understand is that of Yashra'al, the 12 tribes. We have to remember that Yashra'al is a divided kingdom and have been for a very long time now. We were enemies against each other. And chances are, if they were awakened today, we will still be enemies. We'll be doing the devil's work for him, killing one another. Look, if we as the Southern Kingdom can't even get along, come on, really? You think that the Northern Kingdom and us will get along? All right. And this was the reason why Alahayam sent the Northern Kingdom far away from us, the Southern Kingdom, until Hamashiach comes again to be our Malak, our King on the earth for his 1,000-year reign. We will remain divided. Only he can and will make us one kingdom, one nation again. No man on this earth can make us 12 tribes. This has to be the work of Alahayam in his appointed time. He divided us, so he will regather us and make us one kingdom again. In the meanwhile, we are being judged to remove the chaff from amongst us, so that he can regather us as the righteous remnant. The Southern Kingdom will be regathered first and taken in the chariots of this earth. Then the Northern Kingdom will be regathered to be returned to our land, Yashra'al. At the end of the age, when Hamashiach comes for his millennial reign on the earth, he will be returning with the Southern Kingdom saints riding on white horses. It will be at this point of time that both the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom will be reunited as one kingdom, one nation, one people, the 12 tribes of Yashra'al. And what a day that will be when we become one nation again. But as it is right now, we're not one nation. It will happen, but not just yet. And with that, that's the ending of part 1. And this is if you've watched my other videos, the second Exodus into the wilderness and the chariots of Yashra'al, I basically covered these studies, these particular scriptures, right? But I just wanted to re-emphasize this again. All right. But we're going to move on from here, because now it is established that we're 2 kingdoms. And one kingdom is going to be regathered first. That's the Southern Kingdom. Second, the Northern Kingdom is going to be regathered last. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. All right. Once we've moved off from this point, now we can enter into what is going to happen next? How will they be in the wilderness? All right? And that's what we're going to look at. And even after the wilderness, when they enter into the land, how is that going to be? All right. So we're going to look at the Alahayam chapter 6, the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24 to 26, the blessing for Yashwa'al. Yabarakat Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yasham la shalawat. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace, give you shalawat. And I say unto you, shalawam, shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.